Tim, here we are,
Yeah.
Thursday. As
Yeah.
you can see behind me, things are getting darker earlier, which is
They are, man.
problematic.
It happens every year, guy.
And when is that fall back? It's got to be coming up soon, right?
I don't know either. I had this conversation with my daughter, and we were talking about how much time we have after work to get outside and go for a run or something.
It's going to be a lot less in a couple of weeks, is my sense.
Fall really is finally here. We're a couple weeks from Halloween. Football season, starting to matter a little bit. College football season.
I have zero interest. I have not put on a minute of a college football
game. You have less interest in college football than you have in pro football?
About the same. But it's funny you mentioned pro football because I was going to play Would You Rather with you. We play this game on CNBC's Fast Money. Would you rather debate round 2 tonight or Giants-Eagles in Philadelphia on a Thursday night? Would you rather?
It's not even close. Giants-Eagles, a chance for the 1-4 Giants, 1-5 Giants. To actually play for, I think, a tie for first place, or at least be out half a game. So, like pro football and the NFC least is clearly a lot more exciting, and it's a sad testament that I think these debates, for me, I don't care. By the way, I haven't indicated which side I'm on. By the way, I'm not sure I know what side I'm on, but no, I know what side I'm on. I know actually very clearly what side I'm on, but I'm not going to talk about it. And I'm not sure I can watch this. And I know you said in the past, this is can't miss TV.
Oh,
Do you still feel that way?
I'm absolutely. Are you kidding me? You got to watch it. Just for the theater of the whole thing, you have to watch this debate. Does the Giuliani stuff come up? I mean, does Biden go after Trump for, calling him a criminal and you should be in jail? If I'm Joe Biden, I'm coming out hard, but maybe that's not Joe's style. It's good. I think it's just fascinating theater just to see it. It's live. I mean, does he go after Kristen Welker, Donald Trump? I mean, the whole thing to me is fascinating. So you got to watch it.
The Giants, again, does Joe Judge come out and does he go right after Carson Wentz? I mean, this is a guy who's a great quarterback, but he can't stay on the field. And my guess is, this is a crazy statement, but Carson Wentz goes down at some point for whatever reasons, and just maybe a hangnail. Giants might be favorites in the NFC East, man. I mean, it's not favorites, but I mean, it's absurd to think about how the tea leaves are shaping up on this one. Speaking of tea leaves and speaking of elections, let's talk about cannabis leaves. Let's talk about how they're shaping up. And let's talk about the tea leaves of the cannabis leaves going into the elections, because the sector's been on a tear. And the question is this on a tear because there is the prospect for major federal change coming out of this election if you change the composition of the Senate, which is really the more important part, because the House has already had good success in getting legislative progress in cannabis, or is it about the state cycle, or is it about companies that are finally making some money? I spend a lot of time. I'm an investor in the space, run a couple funds, advise a couple companies, so I have strong views on this. And my views are that the elections as a catalyst, I almost use the overword stimulus word, as a catalyst to helping to drive attention on a sector that most notably is growing anywhere from 25 to 40% on the top line, with at least the strongest players in the industry, strongest players who are now profitable. And if you look at the top 5 or 6 companies in the U.S. cannabis market, and I choose to focus on the U.S. market, not because I don't like Canada. I mean, they just had their Thanksgiving. So, I mean, they're doing their own thing up there. Their cannabis market's doing its own thing up there. Some people call it the 51st state, love our Canadian friends, but their cannabis market is nothing like ours. And our cannabis market, like so many markets, is the biggest in the world. So I'll stop talking for a second. Do you care about this stuff as a guy that cares about markets and sectors?
You absolutely should care. I mean, and you know this a lot better than I do, but my sense is it's becoming pretty bipartisan in terms of I don't think it's if this happens, it's a question of when this whole thing goes through. And I think that's it seems to be one issue that both sides can probably wrap their heads around collectively and get behind. So you're probably right. I'm not necessarily sure the election is as big a catalyst. It might have been 4 years ago, but it clearly is somewhat of one. And I think the market's probably looking at it. And then I'll say it again. I think it's not about if, it's absolutely about when, and you got to know the right places to be, which is why having you on the nights we talk about cannabis obviously is so important.
Puff the Magic Dragon, what was going on there?
I think that Adam Sandler, I think the whole crew from Meet the Fockers was on the Today Show the other day. I think it's like the 20th anniversary of that. I mean,
Of the
which is
Fockers?
remarkable.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, blink of an eye. I happen to like those movies, and I'm typically not a big De Niro
But
guy when he
hold
does
on a
this
second.
stuff, but I happen to like those movies.
He wasn't in Meet the Fockers, was he?
De Niro.
De Niro
Sure.
was, but
De
Sandler
Niro.
wasn't. Stiller was.
Sandler, Ben Stiller, they're the same person. I
Dude,
mean, they're
come on,
literally
this
the
is
same person.
That's my crosswire. All right, so Ben Stiller, yeah,
Ben Stiller, yes.
Jerry Stiller.
I
for that
actually
matter.
like, and Mira was.
I like, yeah.
That's a hard last name to say because you're inclined
Not
to
really.
put an N. You're inclined to put an R at the end, and Mirror, but it's and Mira.
Well, they are Broadway royalty. I mean,
Sure
they are incredible. And again, it's a sad time for actors and thespians alike. So, back to cannabis. It's not about elections. It's about the size of the market. It's about the profitability. It's about this is, yeah, there's an adult market, we call it. Some people like to call it the rec market, but there's an adult market, there's a wellness market, there's a biopharma market, and then you just get into this whole. I'm going to throw a couple more acronyms. CPG, you've heard of that?
Sure.
Consumer packaged goods, and I think that's the story. People look at this, and whether spirits and the beer and wine industry are just another sophisticated CPG industry. There's no question that's where this is going. But the trade 2 years ago was to look at which of these big spirits companies are coming in. That's not the trade right now. The trade right now is to look at the top 5 to 10 operators in the United States that have built, I think, a moat around their business and are going to be profitable, and are going to be even more profitable when actually some of the banking laws change and their cost of capital goes lower, and that actually some of the tax laws as it relates to the IRS. And retail sales tax, but 280E, I won't get too lost on this, but basically means that a lot of these companies, especially those in the retail side of the business, can't write off any expenses, and so they're inherently unprofitable businesses. So that's the story right now in cannabis. It's an industry that people come at me all the time, and they're upset, and they have a right to be upset, because a lot of retail investors got sucked into some really, really bad companies, and got sucked into companies where there was enormous insider trading activity, or big blocks of shares that were essentially dumped on the market the minute they got in, companies that were not profitable, companies that were really heavily promoted. And again, the capital market story and the retail story as it's related to cannabis in the last 3 years was a very, very difficult story. And the good news for investors now is I actually think that's holding the market back. Is the taint, if I may, of what happened before, is something that disguises what are truly great fundamentals right now. And yes, full disclosure, I'm long the sector, I'm long business in the sector, and I'm a believer, even though I'm not necessarily someone that thinks this is going to change overnight.
Would you rather a Ben Stiller movie, your choice, or an Adam Sandler movie? I know where I'm going with this, by the way.
Oh, dude, Stiller all day long. By the way, his wife, how much does she look like Marsha Brady?
And she was in Dodgeball with him.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If you recall, and
no,
Dodgeball's just a classic.
Stiller's best movie was Reality Bites. I think with Winona Ryder and Ethan Hawke.
Sure.
It was such a '90s movie. Both the soundtrack, the styles, the hairdos. You were cultivating like an Ethan Hawke look back then, weren't you?
No, actually, I think Ethan Hawke was in Black Hawk Down or something, or one of those movies. The one with John Travolta. I don't remember. Broken Arrow, I believe the movie was. I think Ethan Hawke played a pilot that John Travolta ejected from the plane, but I digress. I will say I had a lot of time for Dodgeball, and Vince Vaughn to me is an absolute genius, full stop. And I know, by the way, he's a huge Fast Money fan.
He's a huge fan. Whether it was Swingers, I think that act got a little tired, but I got plenty. I'm waving in Vince all day long. You know who I'm a major seller, though, is Owen Wilson. Sorry, buddy. I mean, that guy's played the same role in 19 movies, and the cutesy, sensitive dude. Come on, man.
I think you would admit that Wedding Crashers was genius. And here's one for you. I think you know this. The movie Rudy, which obviously takes place on the campus of Notre Dame. Sure. Vince Vaughn was in the movie Rudy. Did you know that?
Was he really?
Sure, he was. Absolutely.
I like you too much to tell you to put earmuffs on while I curse at you. So I'll just say, go Giants tonight.
Right
and let's take hold of this first place in the NFC least.
Got to flip around though. Debates must watch. I'll talk to you later.
See you tomorrow.